ho, ho. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Story Time by Santa. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these wonderful stories that Santa is going to read to you, your family members, and your children. I hope you have a wonderful time. And if you like, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Santa loves you. Ho, ho, ho. Enjoy.
The Gingerbread House Surprise. It was a crisp December evening at the North Pole, and the smell of gingerbread filled the air. In Santa's workshop, the elves were busy wrapping presents, preparing the sleigh, and putting the final touches on their favorite holiday treats. Every year they held a special contest to see who could build the best gingerbread house. And this year's competition was bigger than ever. Elves of all ages gathered in the great hall, where tables were stacked with gumdrops, frosting, peppermint sticks, and of course, the finest gingerbread. The rules were simple. Whoever built the most creative, beautiful, and sturdy gingerbread house would win a golden ribbon and a special surprise gift from Santa himself. Among the eager contestants was a young elf named Ellie. Ellie had never entered the contest before, but she had dreamed of building the perfect gingerbread house. Ever since she was little, she watched the older elves create amazing houses with candy roofs and chocolate doors, and they had practiced her own designs many times at home. This year, Ellie finally felt ready. She had a plan in mind, a gingerbread house that would look just like Santa's cottage, complete with a tiny chimney and a front door made from red licorice. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but Ellie was determined to give it her best. As the contest began, the elves hurried to grab their supplies. Ellie found a cozy spot at the end of the table and began carefully piecing her gingerbread walls together. She spread thick, sweet frosting between the edges to hold them in place and sprinkled powdered sugar across the roof to look like freshly fallen snow. Things were going well until Ellie reached for her gumdrop windows and accidentally knocked the whole side of her gingerbread house. The wall came crashing down, crumbling into pieces on the table. "Oh no!" Ellie gasped, her heart sinking. All her hard work had fallen apart in just a second. The other elves were building magnificent houses, tall and sturdy, and here she was with her gingerbread walls in ruins. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked around at the competition. Some of the elves were already putting the finishing touches on their houses, and Ellie felt like giving up. How could she possibly catch up now? Just as she was about to pack up her things and leave, a gentle voice spoke from behind her. "Are you all right, Ellie?" She turned to see Santa himself, his kind eyes twinkling beneath his brushy white eyebrows. "I knocked my house over," Ellie said, wiping her eyes. "Now I don't think I can finish in time." Santa smiled warmly and knelt beside her. "Building a gingerbread house isn't always easy, especially when things don't go the way we expect," he said. "But do you know what's more important than having the perfect house?" Ellie shook her head. "What?" "Not giving up," Santa replied. "Sometimes things don't work out on the first try, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. The magic of Christmas is in our hearts, and that magic helps us keep going, even when things are tough. Ellie took a deep breath and looked at the crumbled pieces of her gingerbread house. Santa's word made her feel a little braver, and she decided to give it another shot. Maybe her house wouldn't be perfect, but she could still try her best. "Thank you, Santa," Ellie said, smiling with a new determination. She began rebuilding her gingerbread house. This time she worked more carefully, making sure the walls were secure before adding the roof. And when the roof was in place, she had decorated with colorful gumdrops, peppermint sticks, and chocolate pieces. The other elves continued working on their houses too, and soon the hall was filled with beautiful gingerbread creations. Some houses had candy cane fences, others had marshmallow snowmen in the front yard, and a few even had twinkling lights made from jelly beans. Ellie's house wasn't the biggest or the fanciest, but when she stepped back and to admire it, she felt proud. It looked cozy and inviting, just like Santa's cottage, and she had decorated it with love. More importantly, she hadn't given up. As the contest came to a close, Santa and the head elves walked around the room, carefully judging each house. They praised the creativity and the hard work of every elf, and when they reached Ellie's table, Santa gave her a wink. "You've done a wonderful job," Santa said. "I can see how much care and effort you put into your house." Ellie beamed. She didn't expect to win, but knowing Santa appreciated her hard work was enough. Finally, Santa stood in front of the crowd and announced the winners. First, second, and third place went to some of the older elves who had built magnificent gingerbread castles and cottages. Ellie clapped for them, feeling happy for her friends. But then Santa announced something special. "There is one more prize tonight," he said. "This prize goes to an elf who showed more perseverance, who didn't give up even when things got difficult. And that elf is Ellie." The whole room erupted into applause as Ellie's cheeks turned bright red with surprise. Santa walked over to her and placed a shiny golden ribbon around her neck. "Ellie, your determination and Christmas spirit have earned you this special award," Santa said, "and as a surprise gift, you'll get to help me in the workshop tomorrow, decorating the gingerbread village for Christmas Eve." Ellie's heart soared with joy. Not only had she finished her gingerbread house, but she also had earned the chance to help Santa with one of the most important Christmas traditions. From that day on, Ellie remembered the lesson she had learned. Even when you feel like giving up, it's important to keep going. With hard work, patience, and a little Christmas magic, you can always turn things around. That night, as Ellie walked home with her golden ribbon, she felt the warmth in her heart that had nothing to do with the gingerbread or the contest. It was the warmth of knowing that she had tried her best, and that sometimes the greatest rewards come from never giving up. The end. Here's your life lesson. This story teaches children that perseverance is the key to success. Even when things seem to fall apart, like Ellie's gingerbread house, it's important not to give up. When determination, patience, and a positive attitude, they can overcome challenges and achieve something they're proud of. Wow! Isn't that awesome, boys and girls? Here's number 2. Are you ready? The Christmas Eve Adventure. It was Christmas Eve at the North Pole, and the whole place was buzzing with excitement. Santa's sleigh was packed full of the presents, the reindeer were in their harnesses, and the elves were gathered to watch Santa take off on his yearly journey. Everyone was ready for Christmas to begin. But in the middle of all the excitement, two young elves named Oliver and Lily were about to have an unexpected adventure of their own. Oliver and Lila were best friends, and though they were smaller and younger than the other elves, they dreamed of helping Santa with his Christmas Eve journey one day. But that year they were assigned to much less exciting job, making sure all the presents were organized in the toy room. As the two friends sat by the window in the toy room watching the reindeer paw at the snow and hearing the cheers of all the other elves, Oliver sighed. "I wish we could go with Santa," he said. "It would be so much fun to travel the world and deliver presents." Lila nodded in agreement. "Maybe one day we'll be old enough, but for now we've got to make sure everything is in order here." Just as they were about to turn back to their work, something strange caught Oliver's eye. At the far end of the workshop, there was a large sack that had tipped over, spilling a few presents on the floor. "Uh-oh," Oliver pointed. "Looks like some of the presents didn't make it onto the sleigh." Lila's eyes widened. "Oh no, Santa can't leave without those." There was no time to lose. Without thinking, the two elves grabbed the fallen presents and rushed out of the toy room. They could see Santa's sleigh just ahead, his team of reindeer ready to take flight. Santa was already in his seat holding the reins, his jolly voice calling out, "Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!" "Wait, Santa!" Oliver shouted, waving his arms. "You forgot these." But with the wind swirling and the bells jingling, Santa didn't hear them. With a mighty leap, the reindeer took off into the sky, pulling Santa's sleigh behind them. The presents in Oliver's and Lila's arms were meant for children who would be waiting eagerly the next morning. They couldn't let Santa leave without them. Lila turned to Oliver, her face determined. "We have to follow him. These presents are important, and we need to make sure they are delivered." "But how?" Oliver asked, looking up at the distant sleigh. Lila's eyes sparkled with an idea. "I've got it. We'll use the magic sled." At the back of the workshop was an old but powerful sled, powered by Christmas magic. The elves used it for quick trips around the North Pole, and tonight, Oliver and Lila would use it for a much more important mission. They loaded the presents onto the sleigh, and with a flick of Lila's wrist, the sleigh glowed bright with Christmas magic. "Hang on tight," she called, as the sled zoomed into the sky, racing after Santa. The wind whooshed past their faces as they flew over snowy hills and twinkling lights. It wasn't long before they spotted Santa's sleigh ahead, but just as they were catching up, a fierce gust of wind knocked them off course, sending the sleigh tumbling through a thick forest below. "Hold on!" Oliver shouted as they crash-landed into the snow, the sled skipping to a stop in the middle of a quiet, frosty glade. "Oh no!" Lila groaned, looking at the twisted sled. "The sled's damaged. We'll never catch up to Santa now." For a moment, the two elves sat in the snow, feeling defeated. They had been so close, but now it seemed their adventure was over before it even began. But then, a soft jingling sound filled the airs. From the trees, a group of woodland animals appeared. Deer, rabbits, foxes, and even a snow owl. They gathered around the elves, their eyes full of curiosity and kindness. Oliver stood up, brushing snow from his coat. "Maybe we can't catch this up with the Santa with the sled, he said, but maybe we have to. What do you mean? Lila asked. Oliver smiled. We can deliver the presents ourselves. These animals know the forest, and with their help, we can bring the presents to the children who live nearby. Lila's eyes lit up. What a brilliant idea! Maybe not be as fast as Santa, but we can still make sure these gifts are delivered. The animals seemed to understand the elves' mission, and with a nod from the snow owl, the woodland creatures began to help. The deer offered to carry the presents, the foxes and the rabbit led the way through the snowy paths. Together, Oliver and Lila and their new animal friends set off on a Christmas Eve adventure they would never forget. They traveled through snowy fields and over frozen streams, visiting cozy cottages where children slept soundly, their stockings hung by the fire. At each home, the elves quietly placed the missing presents under the tree, leaving behind a little extra Christmas magic. The animals watched from the windows, their breath fogging up the glass as they saw the joy the gifts would bring in the morning. After several hours, the final present was delivered, and the two elves and their woodland helpers gathered back in the forest glade. The night sky sparkled with stars, and far in the distance they could see Santa's sleigh zooming through the sky, finishing the rest of his journey. Oliver and Lila looked at each other, exhausted but proud. They had done it, even without Santa's help. They had made sure no child would wake up without their Christmas present. Just then a familiar, jolly voice echoed through the trees. Ho, ho, ho! What's this I hear about an adventure? Santa landing his sleigh in the glade, his eyes twinkling with delight as he stepped out. I hear you two went on quite a journey tonight, he said, his deep laugh rumbling through the forest. We couldn't let the presents be forgotten, Lila explained, so we decided to deliver them ourselves. Santa smiled warmly. You both showed incredible bravery and kindness tonight. You didn't give up when things got tough, and you made sure every child had a special Christmas morning. That's the true spirit of Christmas. The elves beamed with pride. They had always dreamed of helping Santa, but tonight they learned that the best adventures happen when you least expect them. As Santa loaded them into his sleigh to take them back to the North Pole, Oliver and Lila looked out over the snowy forest, the stars twinkling above them. Their hearts were full of Christmas joy, knowing that they had made it a difference. And as the sleigh soared through the sky, they realized that the greatest adventure of all wasn't about delivering presents. It was about showing kindness, working together, and never giving up, no matter how big the challenge might be. The end. Here's your life lesson. The story teaches children that even when things don't go as planned, they can find ways to solve problems by working together, staying positive, and never giving up. With kindness and determination, they can create their own adventures and make a big difference, just like Oliver and Lila. Isn't that special? What an incredible story. Thank you for sharing some time with Santa. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you did. Good night. We'll see you next time. Santa loves you. Ho, ho, ho!